Today, we delve into the 1991 thriller, Sleeping with the Enemy. The protagonists are a married couple. The husband, Martin, is wealthy. His wife, Laura, is young and beautiful. Soon after their marriage, Martin purchased a secluded detached villa by the sea, then encouraged Laura to quit her job and enjoy a life of leisure at home. Initially, Martin's tenderness and thoughtfulness made Laura feel incredibly happy. However, as time went on, she found life increasingly suffocating. It is now the third year of their marriage. One morning, while Martin was washing, he noticed that 3 towels on the rack were not perfectly aligned. He gently led Laura over and questioned her.
Everything in here as it should be?
Laura, seeing this, quickly straightened the towels and apologized.
I don't know why I forgot.
She then opened the cabinet and meticulously arranged the bottles and jars inside. Indeed, Martin suffers from obsessive-compulsive disorder. After admonishing Laura, Martin spotted his new neighbor preparing a sailboat by the sea, and went over to chat with him. The neighbor mentioned he was sailing out that evening and invited Martin to bring his wife along. Martin, curious, asked how he knew he had a wife, having just met for the first time. The neighbor replied, "Isn't that beautiful woman standing by the window your wife?" Martin smiled, expressing his interest in sailing, but mentioned that his wife had been afraid of water since childhood and he would need to ask her. Upon returning home, Martin asked Laura if the new neighbor had visited while he was in town yesterday. Laura quickly shook her head, stating that no one had come and she didn't know who the new neighbor was.
Sure you do. Young, good-looking, outfitting his sailboat down there. He says you've been staring at him from the window all day. Does it give you that much pleasure to humiliate me?
Martin suddenly lashed out, striking Laura with a slap that sent her to the floor, then impatiently kicked her, telling her not to cry.
Stop it!
The next moment, Martin gently helped Laura up, apologized, kissed her, and then said, "Your good friend has invited us sailing tonight. Let's go, for my sake." Seeing Laura nod, Martin left contentedly, stating he was going to town. After Martin left, Laura went to the seaside to clear her head. As if to vent her emotions, she threw stones at a lamppost. That afternoon, Martin returned with a gift, offering it to Laura as an apology. Laura genuinely liked the red dress. She smiled and said thank you. But can a sweet gesture truly mend a broken heart after a violent act? That evening, the couple and their neighbor set sail, but encountered a thunderstorm halfway, forcing them to return to shore. Unexpectedly, as they neared the shore, one of the sail's fastening points suddenly broke, causing the sail to flap wildly in the wind and the boat to sway violently. The 2 men quickly worked to pull the sail back and secure it with ropes. No sooner had they managed this than Martin was pushed overboard into the sea by the billowing sail. After a considerable struggle, the neighbor finally managed to pull him onto the boat. Once aboard, Martin suddenly realized Laura was gone.
Laura!
This was disastrous. At this point, the wind was fierce and the waves were high, and Laura, tragically, could not swim. Martin anxiously searched and called out, but Laura was nowhere to be found. The rescue team arrived shortly after, and after a search, they only found Laura's life jacket. Under these circumstances, Laura must be dead. A devastated Martin returned to the villa, his spirit broken. Aside from the immense grief, as a control freak, he felt such a complete loss of control for the very first time. His fury over his wife's departure reached its peak, and he smashed windows to vent his anger.
Laura!
A few days later, Martin held a simple funeral for Laura. He had no idea that Laura was, in fact, alive, and had even found a new beginning. It turned out this was a long-planned escape. To escape Martin's pathological control, Laura secretly learned to swim, just in case it might be useful one day. The timeline now shifts back to that night at sea. Unnoticed by anyone, Laura leaped into the sea and swam to a buoy, where she hid. Then, seizing her chance, she swam towards the shore and successfully made it to land. The broken street light among the row on the shore? That too, was intentional. This way, she could quickly orient herself when coming ashore and avoid being easily spotted by those on the boat. As for why she didn't divorce him, it was because she feared Martin would kill her. After secretly returning home, Laura retrieved her pre-packed luggage, put on a wig, cleaned the water stains from the floor, and finally, removed her wedding ring, throwing it into the toilet and flushing it away. Having completed everything, she left that very night by bus. 2 days later, the bus arrived in an inland city, 1,000 kilometers away. Laura rented an apartment in this area. The reason she chose this city was that her mother also lived there. Laura's mother, blind and paralyzed on one side, resided in a nursing home there. And so, Laura began her new life under an assumed name. At times, she would habitually hang towels neatly, only to deliberately disarrange them moments later. She met her new neighbor, a university drama professor named Nick. Nick fell in love with Laura at first sight. Although Laura also had feelings for Nick, she dared not fall in love so easily again, and was even unwilling to reveal her real name to him. Meanwhile, Martin. One day, he received a call from a woman who claimed to be Laura's friend, calling to express her condolences. Martin asked her how she knew Laura. The woman said they met in swimming class. Martin stated that the caller had the wrong person, pointing out that Laura had drowned, making it impossible for her to have attended any swimming classes. Just as he was about to hang up, the caller asked if Laura was a gymnast, as she always had bruises on her body. Hearing this, Martin's heart jolted. He realized Laura had been hiding something and, in a fit of rage, smashed the phone. Martin began to suspect that perhaps Laura was not dead, but had gone into hiding. Soon, he arrived at the nursing home where Laura's mother had once lived, hoping to gather information. Why had once lived? Because, according to Laura, her mother had passed away 6 months prior. At the time, Laura had disappeared for 2 days to attend the funeral. Afterward, Martin severely beat her, saying it wasn't that she couldn't go, but that she had to inform him in advance and couldn't leave without a word. To his surprise, what he learned today startled Martin. It turned out that Laura's mother was not dead. Laura had taken her home 6 months ago. Martin could now be certain that Laura was alive and had hidden her mother away. Subsequently, Martin hired a private detective for $20,000, who located the nursing home where Laura's mother was now residing. Thus, Martin also arrived in Laura's city, staying near the nursing home, awaiting Laura's appearance.
Liebe.
Laura and Nick had a very pleasant date, and their relationship quickly grew warmer. However, when things were about to progress further, Laura had a panic attack, crying and telling Nick to go home.
Sorry, but you have to go.
Nick wanted to ask something, but out of respect, he quietly left. The next day, Laura told Nick that she had been domestically abused by her husband. She was very afraid, fearing she would never be able to live a normal life. Nick said that was just a feeling.
Someday you might surprise yourself.
Nick's understanding and tolerance made Laura feel a sense of relief she hadn't experienced in a long time. Learning that Laura was afraid to visit her mother, fearing Martin might be looking for her, Nick devised a plan. He used props from his acting class to help Laura disguise herself as a man. And so, Laura finally saw her mother. She told her mother that she had escaped her monstrous husband. She had now met a wonderful man, who had even introduced her to a job. Upon hearing this, her mother felt both heartache and relief, expressing her support for her daughter. It was at this moment that Martin also arrived at the sanatorium. He opened the door to Lola's mother's ward, only to see the elderly lady alone inside. Without giving it much thought, Martin closed the door and left. No sooner had he departed than Lola emerged from the kitchenette with water, a perfect, unfortunate miss. After ensuring her mother took her medication, Lola departed. As she walked through the corridor, she found herself in the same space as Martin. Lola did not see Martin. Her back to him, she leaned down to drink from the water fountain. Martin, likewise, did not recognize Lola, silently queuing behind her. And so, Lola departed the sanatorium without incident, her close call unnoticed. Just as Martin was about to leave, a nurse called out to him. Upon learning he was inquiring about Lola's mother's visitor records, the nurse informed him that no one had visited her for the past 6 months. However, a young man had come today and had only just left. Martin instantly recalled the figure he had seen moments ago and rushed out in pursuit. But Lola was already long gone. He returned to the ward, seething with anger, and falsely claimed to be a local police officer. He asserted that he had received intelligence that Lola's husband was on his way, intending to harm her, and that local police needed to know Lola's whereabouts to protect her. The elderly lady, protective of her daughter, paid no heed to the plausibility of the officer's words and answered truthfully. She stated that she did not know her daughter's exact location, but only recalled her daughter mentioning she had a boyfriend, an acting teacher at the local university. Upon hearing this, Martin's furrowed brow relaxed. He picked up a pillow and slowly approached the elderly lady. His menacing posture suggested an intent to harm his mother-in-law. Suddenly, a nurse entered the room to deliver medication. He quickly placed the pillow behind his head. Subsequently, Martin went to the university and discovered that the youngest and most handsome male acting teacher was Nick. He trailed Nick, eventually spotting Lola and Nick on a date at an amusement park. Seeing Lola laughing so happily, Martin's face flushed with anger. After the date concluded, Lola returned home to take a bath, still basking in the recent happiness. It was then that she noticed the towels in the bathroom were neatly arranged. A wave of panic immediately washed over her. She checked the house but found no one. She opened the cabinet, to find its contents in disarray. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed she had subconsciously tidied the towels herself. There was no need for alarm. A while later, Laura and Nick continued their date in the yard, eventually returning to their respective homes late into the night. Before going to sleep, Laura turned on the stereo. To her surprise, it was playing Martin's favorite symphony. Her heart faltered, but she quickly chided herself for being overly anxious once again. Despite her words, she still felt uneasy and went to check on the towels. She discovered that the towels were once again perfectly neat. An ominous premonition instantly surged through her. She tentatively approached the cabinet and opened its door. Inside, the bottles and jars were meticulously arranged. Laura was overcome, realizing the monster had truly invaded her home. She wanted to run outside, but seeing the stereo blocking the door, she froze in place. Just then, Martin appeared from behind her.
It's wonderful to see you.
As Martin hungrily inhaled Laura's scent, Nick knocked on the door. Martin cursed under his breath, pulled out a pistol, and ordered Laura to send the man away. Laura opened the door a crack and told Nick it was late, suggesting they meet tomorrow. After closing the door, Martin was about to chastise his wife, but unexpectedly, Nick suddenly burst in and ambushed Martin. It turned out that Nick had deduced Martin's presence from the fear in Laura's eyes. As the two men wrestled, Laura was completely at a loss, and her fear and helplessness caused her to instinctively smile. Ultimately, Nick was no match and was knocked unconscious by Martin. Martin threatened to kill Nick, but ultimately did not, understanding that incarceration would mean separation from his beloved wife. Martin gently embraced Laura, urging her to wear her wedding ring and return with him, promising enduring love and eternal togetherness. To Laura, these words were more terrifying than the prospect of death itself. She attacked Martin's vulnerable spot, then retrieved the fallen gun and, without hesitation, opened fire. Martin stared in disbelief, exclaiming, "I loved you so damned much, and you shot me?" He commanded Laura to drop the weapon while slowly advancing towards her. Laura ordered him to halt. She then picked up the telephone to call the police, providing her address and stating, "Come quickly, I've just killed an intruder." Upon hearing this, Martin momentarily froze. The next moment, Laura pulled the trigger. Having painstakingly climbed out of one abyss, she refused to fall into the same one twice. After 3 gunshots, Martin collapsed to the ground. Laura sank to the floor, weeping silently. Suddenly, Martin rose, seized her, and aimed the gun at her head. However, the weapon was empty. Martin was unaware that, had there been any remaining ammunition, Laura would have continued firing until it was exhausted.